Hello and welcome to this week's BizSmart Lunch and Learn webinar. Our weekly webinars are aimed to provide advice and share knowledge amongst business owners. This is part of our service to our Smart Room members. If you're not already a member or a BizSmart client and would like to access our archive of webinars, then please visit our website bizsmart.co.uk and go to the Smart Room page. Our host joining me today is BizSmart Select member David Lynes from Unique IQ. Before we start the webinar, can I ask you all to use the question mark function on your screen to post any questions you may have, and David will answer them all at the end of the session. Thank you, David. Over to you.
That's great, thank you. As mentioned we'll be talking about workforce management software today. So I get asked sort of quite frequently what exactly is workforce management software. So I thought it a good idea to cover a sort of webinar on this particular topic. So there's the question: what is workforce management software? Just a little bit of background before I sort of answer that particular question. As Melanie's mentioned, I run sort of Unique IQ. We are a software development business that work in the home care, cleaning, facilities management type sectors. And we've developed a set of tools that specifically A, answer that question, but B, help our clients to manage their workforce in various different methods. And just as a bit of a background of kind of the sort of scale and size of the systems that we've developed, we on average have through our systems about sort of 3 million hours scheduled and booked and managed through our multiple sort of platforms. So roughly around about 5,000, 6,000 sort of daily mobile app users within the systems. We send something like 600, 700,000 text messages a month through our systems. We have somewhere close to 1 million calls being placed through our systems. And those systems are a combination of time and attendance, scheduling, rostering, planning. And so, like I say, we've built a set of tools that do tend to be focused towards the home care and cleaning sectors. But like I say, specifically answer the sort of question about sort of workforce management. So, in terms of what exactly is workforce management software, so the exact definition is workforce management software is a term that is used broadly to describe a system, both desktop and mobile, that assists with staff scheduling and related activities. So, workforce management software tends to be focused towards the scheduling element. And scheduling can be a number of different sort of factors. So it could be based on distance, could be based on qualifications, skill sets, availability. And so there's a number of different sort of factors that run into that. But in essence, workforce management software is, broadly speaking, the element of scheduling and planning where people should be and what time they should be there. And as mentioned, we do have a set of tools that help with that for particular sectors. But by planning where people should be at the correct times, it might be from a invoicing or payroll point of view. That's the kind of starting point really for quite a lot of businesses in the UK and internationally to actually sort of manage their businesses. According to Gartner, in terms of a survey and research was done in terms of what is it, sort of a bit more sort of defined. Gartner are saying that it actually is one of sort of part of 5 different factors and different functions. So workforce scheduling, as mentioned, planning where people should be, what time they should be there, and actually ensuring that service is delivered, whatever that service might be. So it could be it's care, it could be cleaning, could be roadside maintenance, it could be a staff agency. So that workforce can look and be in different sectors. Leave management, so leave could be absence, could be holiday. And so, like I say, Gartner is saying that actually a workforce management piece of software needs to be able to manage that leave and absenteeism. So it could be for a number of reasons. It could be last minute, it could be planned. So a good piece of software should allow you to manage and be able to change your scheduling kind of patterns. Alongside that, task and activity management. So within that, you might have somebody scheduled to be somewhere at a particular time, but actually they might need to perform a particular function. So the workforce management software should be also about what are they performing? Is it home care? Is it a medical visit? Is it to repair a printer or attend a server room for a particular sort of issue or problem? So that task and activity might be different in different sectors, and it will be. But actually, workforce management software is not just about getting the person to the right location, right time, but also what job function are they going to be performing? Is it job notes? Is it job card? Whatever that might be to communicate with that staff member what that particular task or activity is. And then time and attendance. So obviously making sure people are scheduled at the right place at the right time, but also then making sure that they turn up. So workforce management software is also about, and in our instance, real-time monitoring of staff's attendance. So yes, you've asked somebody to turn up to a particular job at a particular time, but then actually did they get there? And then there are some sort of activities and functions around that that allow you to monitor, track, and it could be from a leave point of view that you need to allocate somebody else to a particular shift. But there's a whole time and attendance section there within the whole workforce management software sort of suite. And really should all wrapped up should improve operational efficiency. So if you've got a software tool and a software system that is scheduling where people should be, allowing you to manage leave, holiday, sickness, is communicating your tasks and activities that should be performed, and tracking time and attendance, that will inevitably then improve efficiencies across the board. We often see cases where that might be 5 different tools being used, and by having one piece of software to actually sort of handle that, improves efficiencies, but also looking at this system versus paper timesheets, Excel spreadsheets, wall planners, all of the sort of manual sort of systems that are still out there now and still being used. Then again, using a piece of software that brings all of that data together will improve efficiencies. And just expanding on some of those features, skills, tools, etc. So flexible scheduling. So the scheduling element, we see typically should be about looking at availability, qualifications, skills, distance, etc. So there will be multiple factors that sit around scheduling somebody. It can't be just ad hoc, best possible person. So like I say, it's often based upon a different set of sort of tools and prerequisites and qualifications and skills, etc. So scheduling should be flexible, should be quick as well, because often schedules need to be changed. Client management, so managing from the beginning and the start of a client right through to that sort of client leaving that particular client, that particular business. The tool should be able to obviously store details about that client, the services they require, the costs in which they're being charged, etc., etc. And the same with the HR management element, managing that particular staff member from a training, qualifications, from an availability point of view. So it might be that software needs to store and track when that person's available, what qualifications they've got, etc. So, and as mentioned before, time and attendance. So that software, that workforce management software, should be able to track time and attendance and give you a view of what's actually happening versus the theoretical. So scheduling is very theoretical. This is what should happen, this is what should take place. And many businesses just charge and bill based upon that without any evidence that actually somebody's turned up. And so we work with a lot of clients that need to prove it and evidence time attendance. From whether it's a HSE point of view in Ireland, whether it's a local authority point of view in the UK, or even from a openness and transparency with their clients, proving that actually staff have turned up and actually attended for the duration that they should have done. As I mentioned before, leave management, so your sickness, your holiday, and being able to adapt and change to those changing requirements. So first thing on a Monday morning, you may have somebody call you up that is not going to be in today, and you need to be able to quickly and effectively change and reschedule and communicate with potentially your clients and or other staff members sort of quickly and easily. So again, having one integrated solution means that you can do that. You can see people's availability. You can check you're sending somebody with the right qualifications that is potentially close by, because you know obviously about skills and distances, etc. So that leave management element is obviously an integral part. So tasks and actions, as I mentioned before. So, okay, that's great, somebody turning up, but what are they going to be doing? Is it a medical visit? Is it to do with administering some medications? Is it to clean the ground floor of a particular office building? Is it a temporary position because you're a staffing agency? So those tasks, those activities are different based on sector, based on the client and what you're delivering. So again, the software, the system should be able to communicate these requirements to your staff easily and quickly. And then on the flip side of that, mobile data capture. So with mobile technology moving sort of forward as quickly as it has done, you should be able to get systems, and we do provide a system that allows you to have mobile data capture. So based upon those tasks and actions, you might need to prove and evidence that that's been delivered. It might be a signature on a mobile app. It might be some tick boxes to confirm that those tasks and activities have been done. It might be photographic evidence that a particular job has been done in a certain way, or it could be some notes and comments. And so mobile apps and mobile data capture is becoming more and more of a method, instead of a piece of paper, instead of a phone call, to actually capture that data back into your workforce management software. And then two other areas that are obviously vitally important to business is obviously invoicing and payroll. So making sure that your invoicing is accurate and correct, and again, based upon the work that has been delivered. And that feeds from your time and attendance, feeds from your scheduling sort of modules, and it enables you to invoice and also pay staff correctly, accurately and quickly for the time that they've performed. So if you've asked somebody to cover another shift, that they do get paid for that shift, and so you don't get any sort of pay disputes or anything like that. And then margin expenses, again, a sort of an area where remote workforces need, and the need for this sort of software often comes with the need to track mileage and make sure staff are paid for the mileage that they are due. So cleaning sectors, home care sectors, often mileage is paid when travelling between shifts, not necessarily to and from home, beginning and end of day. And so, again, those sort of functions should be built into this sort of software to allow you to track and capture that. And again, with expenses, again, mobile data capture elements are pretty good at this, to be able to capture the expense elements that have been incurred as a result of possibly having to attend staff training, or to go and, in the home care sector, take somebody to the chemist or whatever it might be. So again, this integrated solution of software should be able to handle these sorts of systems really. Risk assessments and risk planning and tracking of incidents. Again, that's, I guess, depending on the sector, is possibly not quite as relevant for others. But again, there are software systems out there that allow you to track risks, to monitor incidents and make sure that complaints and things are sort of followed up. And then third-party integration. So it's great having this software, but it is important that obviously the software integrates with other systems. And so third-party integration is important. You may not run payroll from your workforce management software. You may need and have a requirement to run Sage Payroll, QuickBooks type systems. So third-party integration is important, and that's all part of this workforce management kind of software suite of systems to allow you to sort of manage the business. So that kind of expands a little bit more on the features you'd expect to see in a workforce management system, and some of these are obviously overlapping and very similar or identical to businesses without the requirement for workforce management software. And so we're now over to any questions. That covers the slide.
Thank you, David. We do have a number of questions for you to answer. Scott has sent a question. What's your suggestion, guidance for businesses not in the home care cleaning sectors? You obviously focus on these sectors, but does this apply to other sectors as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I mentioned that it does sort of cover multiple sectors. So I covered, touched on one there, staffing agencies. So workforce management software is key to those sorts of businesses where, for example, they might be putting certain temporary staff into certain businesses, And they need to make sure the right skilled people go there. For example, it might be machine operators, but they need to be trained in a certain way or have certain qualifications. So workforce management is typically fits most commonly in businesses that have a remote workforce. So where that workforce is out and about. Touched on kind of engineers, staffing agencies, there's cleaning, facilities management, housing associations. We've even seen engineering companies and those sorts of businesses take on this sort of software. And so it does fit in multiple sectors. We do tend to focus on home care, cleaning and those sorts of areas. But workforce management software is common across, like I say, many businesses that have a remote workforce. So that, again, that's typically where more than 50% of the staff members are actually out and about performing a job function.
Okay, thank you. And a question from Paul. What do you believe is the future in terms of technology? Where do you believe software and workforce management is going?
Okay, that's a good one. Technology is always changing. And so, we're seeing, and we've got ourselves a roadmap of increasing our kind of data capture elements, voice recognition. So instead of actually writing notes and writing comments on tablets and tablets and mobile phones, we're seeing sort of more automated systems like voice recognition. We're working on some technology as well to increase the ease in which somebody can clock in, clock out from a time and attendance point of view. I think going forward, we'll see more and more systems have to use mobile apps and tablet-based systems, particularly out and about. There's still a barrier, there's still a cost to that, but I'm seeing also more areas where actually our clients want that system to be semi-automated. So instead of actually somebody pressing a button to clock in, clock out, or use a landline solution to call a system, they want something completely automatic. So, and we have got some technology that we're moving towards in that respect. And so that's where we really see it, more tablet, more phone type devices, but also in conjunction with some automation. So gets rid of the scenario where the employee forgot to clock in, clock out, then actually it's automatically detected where they are at their particular scheduled time.
Okay, just another question that's come through here, David, from Kevin. Can you quantify some of the benefits of clients moving across from a paper-based system to workforce management system?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question as well. So we tend to work with probably 50-50. 50% of our sort of client sort of take on is organisations that are based on a spreadsheet, a paper timesheet, some manual process, wall planners, etc. And the other 50% are familiar with system, but they're moving systems, if that makes sense. So in terms of benefits, from a time and attendance point of view, a piece of paper in the office or a wall planner doesn't actually tell you what's happening on the ground. So from a workforce management point of view, a piece of paper might be able to plan where somebody should be and what time they should be there and choosing the right person. However, from a time and attendance point of view, you've got no evidence or no proof in any sort of quantity of did they turn up. If they didn't turn up, who gets notified? And I think also from a benefit point of view, we see there's a bit of a sort of critical mass. It's easy to manage a business with 5 employees based on paper timesheets and Excel spreadsheets. However, when you grow to 100 staff members, it's not always possible to know where people are and what time they should be there. And managing changes to that and keeping on top of that workload is challenging. So there's systems out there that allow you to in bulk schedule and choose where people should be and recur schedules from week to week. And so workforce management software will actually give you some computing power to be able to make those calculations for you and choose the right people in the right places, as well as be able to store employee records, HR elements, making sure they're paid accurately, and being one central repository, a go-to place for all of that information versus it being filing cabinet, paper timesheet. And one of our early clients, a client in London, they'd got a lady in payroll working 4 days a week, working on timesheets and timesheet data. And when they got a call from an employee saying, well, how much holiday have I got? It was a case of transposing information from paper timesheets into an Excel spreadsheet, and all of the kind of, the sort of intricacies around that. So she loved the system because that cut her workload from a timesheet and known, that point of view, from 4 days down to 1 day. They were able to grow the business as a result. So it gives you the ability to not, reduce your staff levels necessarily, but reallocate and reuse that resource correctly. So they've grown significantly since making some fundamental changes and putting software in place.
There's a question here that links quite well to that from Matthew. What savings are possible by choosing an integrated solution? How expensive is the actual solution in comparison to the quantifiable benefits?
Okay, good question. Some of it, largely depends on size and what systems you've already got in place. So we see significant savings, and we're talking about 30 to 40% of payroll savings moving from a paper timesheet system through to a time and attendance or workforce management piece of software. So, and that tends to be through 2 or 3 different avenues. So you've got the accuracy level, so you're only paying staff members for the actually what they've delivered, versus timesheets that tend to be rounded up or completely falsified. So again, we had an example client, particular employee was putting shift hours onto a particular timesheet. They piloted our system, and our system showed that actually she was only delivering about 15% of what she was claiming on a timesheet. So in that respect, there was time theft. I'm not suggesting it's as bad as that for everybody, but that highlights a point that we do all tend to round up on paper timesheets versus actually being accurate information. You're then not also having to handle a piece of paper. So there isn't a piece of paper that's being posted, faxed through to an office to then be rekeyed, and reprocessed in a number of different ways. So you save all of that sort of admin time and office time. And then there's no time chasing timesheets or chasing that information, et cetera, et cetera. So moving from a paper timesheet through to something else, there are often significant savings, which you then benefit from for forevermore. Savings from when you sort of change system, or perhaps bringing a system that's integrated. We see lots of businesses that have got 3, 4, 5 different pieces of software, and by bringing all that together, you have all that information shared within that system. So again, there's efficiencies gained by having centralised reporting, centralised invoicing, payroll, et cetera, et cetera. So it's hard to put an exact figure on it, but you can purchase and use a piece of workforce management software for as little as £50 a month. But then obviously that grows based on the number of staff that you potentially have. But there are some significant savings, particularly moving from timesheets, paper timesheets.
Okay, thank you. I think there's just one more question that's come through, if we can just ask that. One of our listeners has always found it quite difficult to remember filling in a timesheet. Are there any systems available that don't require input from the user, e.g. a system that can monitor what project files you're working on?
Okay, so it sounds like that's a bit more sort of project-based. So us personally, we don't tend to focus on that particular area. There are systems out there, and I'll sort of follow up afterwards on this, but that you can essentially track your time as the day goes on. When I used to work for a sort of PLC many years ago, I had to fill a timesheet in. I had a target of 80% utilisation, and invariably I was filling that timesheet sort of last thing on a Friday to make sure that got sort of processed. So timesheets or time recording systems that allow you to track as you go tend to be very, very good, because actually you're tracking that time day by day. It's then not an onerous task at a particular time. So there are some really good ones out there that we've used ourselves, even from a project point of view. And so yeah, my suggestion would be try to find something that is a low cost, keep it cost effective, but allows you to track that time as you go along. And there's some browser based ones that you can use if you're in an office. There are some ones that you can use on mobile apps if you're out and about. That's a bit more sort of project based. So it might be trying to bill a client for accurate sort of time. It might be from a quoting point of view that you're trying to estimate in future how long a particular project takes. So there are some really good ones out there that stay in your browser or stay on your PC, and you can kind of click it on, click it off, and broadly sort of log, or even with a lot of detail, log the time you're spending as you sort of progress through the day. So more than happy to follow up after on that.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all the questions for today. Thank you again, David, for hosting today's webinar. We'll be sending out a copy of the presentation and David's contact details out to you very shortly. So please do email any further questions you may have direct to David. Before we close, just a quick reminder, this webinar is part of our service to our Smart Room members. If you're not already a member or a BizSmart client and would like to access our archive of webinars, then please visit our website biz-smart.co.uk and go to the Smart Room page. So this is the end of today's BizSmart webinar. Thank you for listening. Please join us again very soon.